Okay, so we're here today with Matthew Brennan. Matthew needs no introduction now. So starting to become a bit of a household name, I would say now, Matthew. Obviously very well known before to the cycling world, but we have seen recently you have become more of a household name. So it's been probably 18 months since we last sort of sat down and did a bit of a podcast with Matthew. So we thought we'd have a catch up today, and we've got lots of things going on that we thought we would go in and discuss. So Matthew, welcome back to the podcast.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for having me again.
So where are you currently, Matthew?
I am at my home in Andorra, so up in the mountains.
So I guess straight away that's a bit of a change to the last time we spoke. So I think the last time we sat down for a proper catch up was about 18 months ago. I think thinking back, it was off the back. You were actually still a junior at the time, or just finished junior. You'd come off the back of Junior Worlds, obviously with your Worlds win, and you'd just signed your first pro contract with Visma off the back of your time on the development team, I believe. So do you want to give people kind of maybe a bit of the last 18 months might have been a bit of a whirlwind since we last spoke. Do you want to give people a bit of an update of what you've been up to?
Yeah, I think it started off on the development team. I joined in 2023, I want to say. Um, and we came with the approach of we have kind of 2 years on the contract with a possibility to kind of openly extend that. And the team were very easygoing. They wanted to take progression at my own pace, and they had kind of trust in what I could do. So they put a lot of confidence into me going into the first under 23 season, and I went to my first race in Croatia and I won that. And then I did the next race in that kind of Croatia block, and I also won that as well. So that was a really positive start to the year.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just progressed on, and we did different styles of racing, stuff where you kind of just pick up a lot of things on the way, which was really good. You start to ride your first UCI point ones, things like that, that open your eyes to, right, okay, there's some decent names floating around. And then, we come into Baby Zero. That was a nice target for the team. And yeah, it was a bit of a tough week. We had some guys who got ill, and then we kind of maybe struggled to find a motivation for the week because we had kind of our main guy, he went sick, and we had like four guys left and two climbers and two kind of sprint guys. So it kind of made it really hard to move in one direction, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
But in the end, yeah, I managed to take the win on the final stage, which was really nice. And then we went on to some more racing to kind of pick up a little bit, and was given some opportunities in some point one races with the World Tour team. And yeah, we did Circuit Wallonie, and I was put in a really nice position there. And then, yeah, also the really cool experience for Paris Tours at the end of last year. It was also a really nice experience. And we came off that, and it was really a positive year in terms of what I had learned, I had achieved, where kind of the direction was heading.
Yeah.
And it's one of them where you try and take as much confidence from that year and move it on to the next year. And you had a focus in mind all winter. I went to Girona. I stayed in a apartment with three Dutch guys, which was really nice. And yeah, I thought the training there was also quite good. And then we went in with the ambition to start in Down Under. So we did that, and we tried there, we got close, but we probably maybe didn't, well, I didn't maybe achieve what I wanted to achieve there.
Yeah.
So that was also, it was a really cool moment, but it was also so frustrating to be so close. And yeah, I mean, it was a trip that was really cool. Really enjoyed it. And yeah, I think that was a really nice start to the year. And then moving on into the year, it was kind of, yeah, I did I did a few races and I did well, and I then got the call up to um, the classics opening weekend.
Hmm.
They said, "Would you like to do Omloop?" I was like, "Yeah, why not? Give it a crack." So I had a lot of fun there, and although the team maybe didn't get the result that we were maybe chasing, it was a really good kind of experience to be in that environment and being with the kind of some of the best riders in the world, really, in that race. And then, yeah, again, another last minute call. Catalonia
Yeah.
was also a really cool experience there. Um, and then, yeah, two stage wins there. First professional victories was also cool. And then I'd also come off GP Denane the week before. And we kind of had a bit of a joke at Denane where we said, yeah, yeah, let's make it 4 out of 4 or something, which is just like you sat there just going, 4 out of 4. The likeliness of this happening is it doesn't cross your mind to think that it will,
Yeah.
and then it did, and it was like, right, okay, and then yeah, moving on, it was like that was a really nice experience, and so did Denane, and then did Catalonia, and then they said, right, we would like to take you to Roubaix, which yeah, it was quite a interesting phone call actually. It was Mathieu Hebor, uh, head of performance, said, "Oh, can you call tonight?" And getting a message from him is it's not really something that you get often. And if you do, it's either you've done something wrong or you're gonna go and do something quite cool and
Yeah.
substantial. So yeah, yeah, he said that evening, we'd like to take you to Roubaix. There's one spot open for you. Would you like to go? And it was kind of a bit like it wasn't even a question. It was more of like a statement, like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
you're going."
Yeah.
And it was quite a cool thing. I was kind of sat there after Catalonia. I was ill until about I want to say 5 or 6 days before Roubaix. So I was ill for about a week and a half
Mhm.
off the bike completely, which wasn't ideal for Roubaix, but your mind's open. I think you can approach a race and anything can happen. So yeah, I went in with an open mind and went as far as I could. I spoke with Wout on the morning, and I said, "What the hell am I meant to expect in this race?" And he was like, "Yeah, just be here. Really look after yourself, and you will get quite far into the bike race, and then we can start to play our cards a little bit." So it was also nice on the morning before that he kind of had that trust in me to kind of get as far as that into the bike race at the front end. So yeah, I think we we played our cards how we maybe wanted to, and it was such a diverse scenario where kind of maybe Wout's legs weren't showing in the start, and then towards the end he just had this engine that was quite good actually. Whereas I was kind of able to stay with a few moves and cover that type thing, and yeah,
Do you think that's where experience kicks in? Is that them Wout experience then and them years of them bigger races in the legs? Do you think that makes a difference then as the race goes on or
uh, I think the thing is with Roubaix is he said on the radio in the race, he said, "Matthew, go for your own opportunity," and it was noticeable he wasn't his normal self that day. Like, yeah, I came past him on the Arenberg and I knew like wow, it wasn't wow, that day. But I knew that he still had his engine and he could just keep going all day. And then that showed, especially later in the race, like, we weren't up the road with Van der Poel or anyone, but we were still in the group behind and he was almost in a better position to just motor on all day rather than go full gas and then stop.
Yeah.
He just kept going.
So going back to you, how does that feel as Matthew Brennan from Darlington, Matthew Brennan, 19-year-old, you're coming up past Wout van Aert on the Arenberg, and he's not on a great day, and you're coming past him thinking, yeah, what's going through your mind at that point?
Mm,
Or
I,
are you just in race mode and you're not really thinking about that?
y-
Or
yeah, I think you're more thinking like, um, how can I shoulder some more responsibility, if that makes sense?
yeah, yeah,
Like, I was kind of more there to support Wow into the final, but when you kind of see him struggle, then it's almost a switch in the brain that goes, right, I need to be there now
yeah,
because then that means Wow can just sit on.
yeah,
And it's one of them. It's not really. I don't really see it as, oh, I've just passed Wout van Aert.
yeah, yeah.
It's like as a team we're trying to achieve
Yeah.
a goal, and how can we do that the best?
So I think obviously, yeah, and obviously you went on then to Romandy as well.
Yeah.
And obviously you got your victory at Romandy. So I mean, quite a. So looking back, you said obviously you explained the start of your season under 23 and how you progressed through last season. Did you at any point? I mean, how would you describe your season's gone? I mean, at the start of this season, would you say you envisaged that this could have happened, or has it all sort of happened a lot quicker than you thought it would have? Was there any point that you saw a bit of an upturn in everything and you thought this is really progressing now, or is there any moment you think back to?
Mm, I think as I was preparing for Down Under, I was testing quite well in terms of kind of where my strengths were.
Yeah.
And it was also a little bit like, yeah, it might be a little bit early to be pushing this kind of power, but it was also a nice sign that you could push that power, if that makes sense.
Diamonds in the legs, as they'd say.
Yeah. I think it was also nice that it maintained at that level for a really long time as well,
Mhm.
especially up until like, yeah, until Roubaix, it kind of really maintained that level. And I think now, obviously, with the season progressing, it dips down a bit, and then with illness and things like that, you really have to build back up to that level before. But
Yeah.
I'm not. Yeah, I still feel like I have something to give, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Mhm.
But I think, yeah, I came into the season with the goal to try and win a World Tour race,
Yeah.
and that was it. It doesn't matter what it was. It could have been in the very last race in October, but that was just the goal, one World Tour race.
Yeah. Well,
And
you've surpassed that already.
yeah, we've done okay. We've done
Yeah,
okay.
not too bad. So, yeah, we've gone quite into depth there over your last 18 months. So what is next then? Obviously, we touched on you just come back from Romandy. What is the immediate future or the next couple of months? How's that shaping up? How's that looking? If you can tell us, or
Yeah, so on this Sunday, on yeah, don't know what date, we go to Rundum Colne and try and do something there. And then after that, we go to Tour of Norway at the end of the month, then Hageland, and then on to Nationals after that. So nice. There's not too much going on, but it's also a nice kind
yeah,
of balance of being able to get a bit more training.
because I think it was probably Nationals last year was the last time I saw you maybe in person racing. I think up Saltburn Bank, and you didn't have too bad of a race that day. You were right up there towards the finish.
Yeah,
Um, how does this year's Nationals
yeah.
course differ? Do you think? Do you think it suits you more or less? Or
I haven't really looked into it to be honest. I think, um, well, I can only assume it's Wales, so I don't believe it's going to be an easy course. And I think the way that Nationals is always raced is always going to be a hard race anyway.
yeah,
So it'll be an interesting race for sure, I think.
and is it something? Obviously, is the name of yours this year?
Yeah, I mean, would like to give it a go, should we say? I mean, I'm not going to go and sit around at the back. I'd like to be quite active there, but
Yeah.
there's only one person who can win those bands. So,
And for the rest of the season, is there any other major goals in your head at the minute?
Uh, Not particularly. Just,
See what comes up and try and win everything.
yeah, just turn up, win, go home, train a bit more, and see what happens. It's kind of with Worlds and things not really being on the cards this year, it also changes the dynamic of the year a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, it's been nice so far.
So, um, obviously, one of the reasons why we've got you on the podcast today is you have started working with ourselves at North East Cycling CIC and our project we're doing at Middlesbrough Velodrome. So, have you got any plans to potentially get back on the track in future? Is that still something you think about? Obviously, not maybe in the immediate future, but is it still something you'd be interested in doing?
Yeah, I think I do have long-term ambitions, and I kind of keep in contact with the coaches at British Cycling so that if the opportunity comes around that I can kind of get back on the track. And I think it's also something that the team are potentially open and kind of exploring. So it would be nice to maybe target the 2028 games on the track, maybe do a bit of track and road, see if that's possible.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it's one of them. It's it works well in kind of, I think, building a bit of an engine, building a bit of speed. It's hard. It's a hard thing, the track, and I think it really can benefit like your VO2 capacity, for example, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's really positive.
So a little bit more on the track then. So obviously you've touched on a few things there. Obviously we've now so North East Cycling CIC have taken over Middlesbrough Velodrome with the hope of developing the velodrome, making a community hub, getting more and more people involved. We saw our biggest track league for a number of years just on Wednesday night gone, so we're already having an impact, and it's great to see a lot more riders getting on the track. Why? What's your thoughts behind Middlesbrough Velodrome? Why do you see it as being such a good project that you want to get involved with as well?
It's yeah, I think it's a place where I did a lot of training hours when I was younger, and I really kind of saw the benefit to being on the velodrome and just just doing hours on there behind a motorbike. But also, I think you pick up quite a lot of things unintentionally that are very tactical about the track because the banking can always change how you race or want to do things. And I think I always believe that when I see like riders coming into a finish of like a breakaway and there's like four of them, it's the exact same scenario as the track. And if you've been doing this for years before, I don't know, such as an elimination final or you're in a scratch race and you've taken a lap, for example, it's things like that where I think you learn about bunch awareness, where people are, things like this, and basically just how you would manage that scenario.
Yeah.
So I think it's really a good place in kind of building up that tactical knowledge bank as well. Um, because you do see sometimes some riders and you think, well, what was he thinking of doing there, if that makes sense? Like he wasn't necessarily playing into his cards.
Yeah.
So I think it also helps with that.
Mhm. Yeah. So on that, do you think it's important then that we obviously what we're trying to do is we're trying to get more and more young riders on the track, and obviously they may say, "Oh, I'm not a track rider," or "I just want to be a road rider," but you see it. Do you see the track as having a big sort of part to play in your development over your career so far?
Yeah, I think it's also very tricky because like you have things combining such as like the national program where track is obviously a very big or a very much pushed aspect
Mhm.
in kind of development. And I think when everyone is kind of on the track, it's also quite nice community wise. And I think the more people who get involved, the nicer it is to be at the track.
Yeah.
And it's very much there was some nights at the track where, you know, the racing wasn't necessarily the thing you went for. It was you'd go and race your bike with your mates, and then you'd go and have a good chat around with your mates after the race. And then you just get called up for a race and you just go and do that for 10, 15 minutes, and then you come back and chat again.
Yeah.
So it was something that was like very unique, but also I think very nice to do on a night after school where you just still want to ride your bike, but also like the social aspect as well.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because we actually had a few of the older juniors came back on Wednesday night, and afterwards they said, like they've missed it, and they're really happy they came back and had that sort of community atmosphere on the night, and really enjoyed just being there in general. We got a few messages afterwards to say they really enjoyed it, and it was great to see them back, and hopefully we'll keep that going now. So, is there any particular standout
Nice.
memories of your own from Middlesbrough Velodrome? Have you got any particularly standout memories of racing at Middlesbrough Velodrome, or is it those nights behind the Derny, or what is it that you sort of, if you think back to your fondness of the Velodrome?
Mm, I'll always remember my first DQ. No, I got my dad DQ'd in a race actually.
We've had this
I'll
discussion
always
before,
remember that
haven't
one.
we? Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah. The
Yeah.
commissaire in question mentioned this last week.
Yeah. So that was yeah, so for those who don't know, my my dad, when I was really young, I want to say like 12 or 13, I probably was. I was in the, should we say, the older group, and we were always getting close to kind of winning, but really kind of struggled to get that kind of, I don't know, from fourth to first. So my dad, my dad just smashed it for yeah, 2 laps, just lined it out, and then with like, yeah, I think a lap to go, he pulled off, but he he kind of didn't have anywhere to go, so he just swung off left. I just went, usually you swing up the track, but he just swung off the track completely. So I was like, and then I just went. I've still got like second, so yeah, but my dad got DQ'd for that. So
A little
I
bit
don't
of
know what.
collusion among Team Brennan. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what he was thinking about going left, but he made it out. So
Excellent. Um, So obviously we've got, as well as like just asking, so obviously we want more people on the track. We're trying to build that community in Middlesbrough, but obviously that we are also in discussions with a lot of local businesses at the minute and potential sponsors. I mean, do you think that is it a really good thing that people should be getting involved with from that point of view? Is it something you think is great for people to sort of invest in and get involved with from that kind of from that aspect, if you like?
yeah, I think it's you're you're investing in not only the track, but you're also investing in the community who are there. And I think the people who use that track really see a difference when there's people who spend time there and put on things and put on sessions and really help to build that community because, you know, they say Rome wasn't built in a night or a day or whatever the phrase is. I can't remember what it is these days. And when you can have such a thing, such a unique thing like Middlesbrough Velodrome, you have one of the only 250 outdoor velodromes in the UK there,
Mhm.
and you want to maximize the amount of time, the amount of people that can use it. And when there's that nice community atmosphere, it brings in more people and people who, I don't know, thought they were playing football on the fields next to it. They come and give it a try and they're like, oh, I actually really enjoy this. And I also think that's how you find some next generation cyclists because we always say on kind of our team, there's some kid who's out there sat on his Xbox with the best genetics in the world for cycling and just doesn't know because he's never tried it.
Yeah.
And I think the more people that can try it, the more people will enjoy it, the happier people are. And also like it's something to do on a school night or on a weekend. I think it keeps people busy and feeling involved in kind of the cycling community. And I think that's really a strong aspect of it.
Um, Any last sort of things from yourself, Matthew, on yeah, just trying to help us get some people down, I suppose.
No, I think it's if you sat there thinking, I don't know if it's me, I'm sure there's always a way to get you on this track. There's there's always going to be someone who will want to help you out, or we're in the north of the UK. Everyone is super friendly, and especially down at the Velodrome, it's such a nice community. And I think just give it a try. I think there's no harm, and I think you can't miss out on the experience of being 20 feet off the ground with a banking that's 45 degrees or however steep it is. And there's nothing that I think is remotely similar to that experience. And I think it's such a also nice challenge for people as well. And it's a different aspect of cycling that I don't think people have even thought about.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. One last question from me. We'll wrap up. Is obviously you've talked about your immediate future. I have seen some stories recently, some of the press you've been doing, talking about potential Tour de France starts in future years, obviously in the UK next year. Is that kind of something that is on your mind presently? Is there any other major sort of goals and ambitions in your head now after you've sort of had this breakout sort of start to the year, seeing what you can do? Is there now bigger ambitions in play, shall we say?
Yeah, I think going forward, it's one of them where you look at this races that are available and you kind of just see where you're kind of heading. And, I think going to the tour in 2027 would just be a massive target itself. But also just with the ambition of going into yellow on that first day is that extra ambition. And I always say if I'm there and I'm ready to do the tour at that point, brilliant. Like that's an awesome goal to kind of achieve just to be on the start line. But if I'm kind of also in a position where I could potentially win the first stage, that is also something really quite nice to go in. And yeah, I also look at some of the classics and some of the races looking forward in the future. It'd be nice to go and do maybe a Flanders or another Roubaix would be quite good. I think San Remo would also be an interesting one. Um, but at the end of the day, these races are so diverse, difficult, and anything can happen when you've got 250k in the legs. So it's it's such a interesting kind of adventure, shall we say, to kind of understand what might be good in the future. And but at the end of the day, you want to win everything. So that's what we kind of strive for. And
Yeah.
if we can achieve a monument, then that would be really cool. But there's no pressure to kind of go and do that. So it's just again, take your steps. By Visma's expectation, I would still be on the development team right now. So there's no kind of pressure to go, right, we need to win Tour of Flanders next year with you.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's also I'm only 19 at the moment, so a lot can change.
Yeah. Lots of time, lots of time. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Matthew. Thank you for joining us today. We won't keep you too much longer. And good luck on Sunday. We will be watching over the next few weeks. And hopefully, we will stay in touch and we will catch up when you do eventually get back to the UK in sometime this year.